Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. We'll be talking everything Denver sports and beyond. Please like and subscribe if you are a sports fan like me. Let's do this. Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. Well, the Denver Broncos take care of business on Sunday and dismantled the Dallas Cowboys in front of a very raucous and rowdy and excited, as they should be, Denver Bronco crowd in Denver. Broncos, really an incredible effort, an incredible result. I'm going to get into all that very soon. But just want to start out with a little bit of talking about the first half, just because this Bronco offense has been so bad, so poor to start games. And Bo Nix throws an interception early in the game on one of the early drives, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. But after that pick, Bo Nix was essentially flawless. Broncos go ahead and start utilizing all of their weapons to really exploit a very poor Dallas Cowboys defense. And before you know it, Broncos are up 27-10 at half. I would have been thrilled at 27-10 as a final score. To do that in a first half, granted against a poor Dallas defense, but Broncos came out swinging. Offense is starting to show its potential, and the Denver Broncos are now definitely in the driver's seat in the AFC West. This was definitely the most complete game from the Denver Broncos offense for the season. Granted, I understand that the Cowboys not only were a bad defense coming into this game, but they continued to suffer injuries and lose key players in their secondary, and were playing backup players who, quite frankly, don't deserve to be in the game unless injury requires them to be. But that's kind of how the NFL works. The NFL is a week-to-week league, depending on health, depending on who you have available, and you never apologize for taking advantage of another team's weakness and another team's vulnerability in terms of their roster depth. Gosh knows around here, we've seen the Broncos be on the other end of that many, many times over, playing backups, playing guys who, quite frankly, aren't in the league now and were on the Broncos 3 to 4 years ago. So you never apologize. This is the NFL. It's ruthless. It's cold-blooded in terms of guys being cut, guys being moved around, and the average career is about 3.5 years still. So you never apologize for when, yes, the Broncos have taken advantage this season of some teams that have been not great or have a lot of injuries. But the Broncos also played a game in London against the Jets a couple weeks ago, in which the Jets are not a good team who finally got a dramatic win over the Cincinnati Bengals, who the Broncos have also beaten this year. And so the Broncos offense didn't look like this in London. Certainly did not even come close to this type of offensive production. So you play who's on your schedule. You don't apologize for wins. The Broncos are now 3-0 against the NFC opponents on their schedule, being the Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants, which I definitely did not have them losing the Philadelphia game. I actually had them winning the Dallas Cowboy game to start the season. The reason why I picked the Broncos to lose the game during my live Friday preview was I just felt like I was still very nervous that the Broncos offense could put together a cohesive performance. And I thought that given the Cowboys offensive productions, they would put up points, certainly more points than they did. And so the Broncos had not yet proven to me that they were capable of this type of game. I knew the potential was there, but you have to put it all together. You have to put it all together. And speaking of put it together, Mr. Bo Nix continues to improve. He's getting much better. He's much more comfortable as he runs this offense. I feel like they've also scaled down some of the constant substituting between plays. And so Bo Nix finishes 19 for 29, 247 yards, 4 touchdowns, and of course the 1 interception, which I mentioned in the open. You know, those things happen. It was an underthrown ball. It happened early in the game, so the Broncos had plenty of time to make up for it. I'm not really worried about that. But the other thing the Broncos did, which I have been banging on Sean Payton to do, begging, pleading. If you want to look back, I have multiple videos and clips of him begging, please have a well-balanced attack. And they have finally done it with J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. Really, J.K. Dobbins ran excellent runs. He did not score a touchdown, but his run production, 15 carries for 111 yards, he averaged 7.4 yards per attempt, which is excellent. Broncos had 28 attempts overall for 179 yards, averaging 6.4 yards a carry. Why is that important? That's important because they finally were able to run the ball on first down, able to run the ball a little bit on second down. And the Broncos, basically midway through the game, I was going to look back at my notes on this, but the Broncos essentially were getting finally some manageable third downs, where not every Bronco drive was a 3rd and 10, which is huge. It's really huge. I want to say, I'm looking back, Broncos ended up having a much better third down conversion rate. And why did that happen? That happened because instead of having an average of 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 11, the Broncos were sitting at an average of 3rd and 6, which is a much easier down to complete. It's much more efficient. And that's what happens when you run the ball and you don't ask your quarterback to do everything for himself. The Broncos ended up finishing an average gain on offensive play at 7.5 yards. So almost getting a first down per play is absolutely bonkers. They really, they're to be commended for this performance. The Dallas Cowboys are still a professional team with a huge payroll. And really, this was an excellent home win for the Denver Broncos. And I'm very happy to see that the offense put together an entire first to fourth quarter game throughout the entire football game. In looking at some of the final statistics of this game, the Dallas Cowboys still had 339 yards of offense to the Denver Broncos 426, but that 339 was not the same as the Broncos 426. And I really want to talk about the young impact players that the Broncos drafted, have been trying to develop, and it's just amazing to see what can happen if you have a productive draft and you surround a young developing quarterback with guys who really step up and really played their role and played a lot better. And I think the first guy that needs to be mentioned is R.J. Harvey, who had struggled. Seemed like he wasn't seeing the holes, wasn't seeing where to go, seemed a little wild, a little reckless. This was, and really, R.J. Harvey was really pleased to see. Didn't have the most amazing rushing numbers, 7 attempts for 46 yards, but he had a long run of 46 yards. He was also extremely good in just blocking, pass receiving, all of it. R.J. Harvey, hats off to you. Explosive plays, 2 touchdowns in this game. And the Broncos also finally got the young Pat Bryant from the University of Illinois involved in the game. 4 targets, 2 receptions, 40 yards. Longest one was 24 yards. Not the most explosive in terms of, or productive, I should say, in terms of total numbers. But his catch in the back of the end zone to really put the nail in the coffin for the first half, put the Broncos up 27-10, and really was a back-breaking play for the Cowboys heading into halftime. Spectacular throw by Bo Nix. Even more spectacular catch, in my opinion, by Pat Bryant. And boy, if they can get something out of Pat Bryant in terms of development, explosive plays, combined with R.J. Harvey and the usual suspects, the Denver Broncos are in a very good spot. I'm very pleased that RJ had been kind of up and down, wasn't quite sure what to make of him. Clearly had his best game as a professional, and Pat Bryant took a little while, as most wide receivers do, to get in the flow of the game. And he didn't have the most receptions or the most targets, but he is a definite upgrade and improvement for this receiving core as he continues to develop. after a few rough performances early in the season for the Denver Broncos defense. Defense was spectacular. This Dallas Cowboys offense is quite good. I was quite concerned that Dak Prescott was going to have himself a day, but he did not. Dak himself ended up finishing only 19 of 31 for 188 yards, took 2 sacks, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Had you told me at the beginning of the game that Dak Prescott was not going to throw a touchdown pass in this game, I would have been not only shocked, but quite happy, and must have thought that the Denver Broncos had an excellent day on defense, which they did. Riley Moss had a little bit of a rough patch. He definitely seems to be on the radar for officials to overcall, in my opinion, pass interference. But Riley Moss is going to get a ton of work all season long. Certainly did in this game. And I still contend that he is probably the most picked on defensive back in the NFL. Ben really commends himself very well, plays very hard, makes a few mistakes here and there, but you can never question his effort. And he's going to get even more work now, which unfortunately the Denver Broncos lost their best cornerback in the game as Pat Surtain left with a shoulder injury. He did not come back at the start of the second half. And so Riley Moss got a lot of work in this game, and I thought that he commended himself pretty well. Also good to see that the Denver Broncos rookie Jahdae Barron managed to make an impact play with an interception. DeAndre Tillman also had the other interception, so 2 picks, lots of pressures. We're peppering Dak all day. Clearly, Dak's seen it all. He's over a 10-year veteran at this point. There's not a whole lot you can do to truly rattle him as a veteran quarterback. But the Broncos just made it really uncomfortable for him. Yes, Javonte Williams had a pretty good revenge game, which is something that I was a little bit worried about for the Broncos coming into this game, that he might be extra inspired to show it to the Broncos. But he had okay numbers. He had a couple of touchdowns, but he did not single-handedly wreck the Broncos, as I was kind of worried that he might. Javonte ends up finishing with 13 carries, 41 yards, has the 2 touchdowns, but no super crazy long runs, no explosive plays. And if you also had told me at the beginning of the game that CeeDee Lamb, the excellent Cowboys receiver, would finish basically for, I think CeeDee Lamb, he ended up with 7 receptions, 74 yards, and no touchdowns, I would take that all day, because I was very worried that CeeDee Lamb might also have a very explosive day against the Denver Broncos. But Denver Broncos defense is the real deal. They really played an excellent game against a high-powered Dallas Cowboys offense, and really really made Dallas look pedestrian at certain points of the game, and they are not a pedestrian offense whatsoever. Very good to see the Denver Broncos defense really stepping up. And finally, I would be remiss, I almost tried to skip over him a little bit, but wanted to get back to Troy Franklin, the second-year wide receiver from the University of Oregon, who Bo Nix essentially told the Broncos, you really need to pick this guy, and he showed why. He took a little bit of time to get going, as he did in his professional career, but that's pretty common for a lot of wide receivers. Usually they pop in year 2 or year 3. Troy Franklin finished with 8 targets, 6 receptions, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If the Broncos can get Troy Franklin really humming in the mix, along with Cortland Sutton, Evan Ingram, and Pat Bryant, combined with R.J. Harvey's explosive runs, and Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims is another player that I wanted to touch on a little bit, because Marvin, although he's never had any gigantic splash plays, he did have 3 of his 3 kickoff returns for 93 yards. He's averaging 31 yards per kick return, which, given the way the new kick return rules is set up, it's essentially not set up to really have much of any production on kickoff returns at all. So to average 31 yards on a kickoff return, which essentially sets up your offense close to the 50-yard line for a bunch of drives, is huge in terms of field position for the entire game. Marvin Mims truly has found a role on this team as a gadget guy. It's what Sean Payton wanted him to be when he brought him over and made him a Denver Bronco. And I'm very happy to see that there's at least some sort of return game with Marvin Mims. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin finally breaks out and has a punt or kick return for a touchdown. So Broncos, young pieces, young offense coming together. It still feels like there's room for improvement, which is crazy to say after dropping 44 points. But that's because there is talent on this Broncos offense. The offensive line is solid. We're very happy for the Broncos. This was a huge win. Also to do it on national television and to basically dismantle Tony Romo's former team while he has to eat it and announce it for 3 hours also gave me a lot of satisfaction. With that being said, thanks for tuning in. My name is Andrew Sharp, Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. Broncos with a huge 44-24 win over the Dallas Cowboys. I will be back on Friday to discuss the Denver Broncos as they head to Houston, Texas to take on the Houston Texans next Sunday. Please like and subscribe. I really appreciate everyone who tunes in to my videos. Please continue. I'm very pleased with all the support I've gotten and really appreciative. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.